Tonight is historic. This is the first Oscar for any Indian production, and two women here won this. 1.4 billion Indians, this is for you. ये आपके लिए है. We have all manifested this together. This is for my co-producer Achin Jain, the entire team of Sikhya, the entire team of Netflix, Alok, Sarafina, WME, Bash, Sanjana. Thank you, mom and dad up there. Thank you, Guruji, Shukrana. This would not have been possible with any one of you. I just want to say to all the women watching, the future is a I just want to say to all the women watching, the future is audacious and the future is us and the future is here. Thank you. Let's go. Jai Hind. Hi.
Hi. Welcome to the IAmRemarkable Women's History Month celebration event. IAmRemarkable is a global movement that empowers everyone to celebrate their achievements in the workplace and beyond. To date, IAmRemarkable has reached 600,000 people across 182 countries. And today, we are hosting Guneet Monga Kapoor, an Academy Award winning filmmaker. My name is Shifali Saxena. I've been extremely fortunate to have worked with Guni for the past 2 years, watch her hustle, celebrate her victories with her. Guneet Monga Kapoor is an Indian filmmaker, an Academy Award winning BAFTA nominee, and amongst the first producers from India to be invited to the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and
Thank
Sciences.
you.
Welcome, Guneet. We'll let you introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you, Shifali, for doing this. It's been so wonderful working together and learning from you too. I'm Remarkable is a beautiful platform, and I love supporting it. I was here a few years ago too. This is my second time, and to everyone watching, welcome. I'm Guneet Monga Kapoor. I'm a filmmaker based in Bombay, India, and I am an extremely passionate storyteller. I'm a producer, and yeah, have a company called Sikhya Entertainment. I think I'm terrible at introducing myself, but we've produced, around 40 films and independent movies, and figuring our way through this, and excited. Yeah.
So, I don't think anybody or most people know that, Guneet. You were never meant to be a producer. In fact, your dad wanted you to be an insurance agent.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Uh,
so his grand plan in life was the minute I turned 18, his grand plan in life was you should be an insurance agent. I actually think secretly it was his plan, but he didn't want to study and he made me go through the exam. Um, yeah, so I went on to become an insurance agent, and my first job was, my first ever visiting card was a Tata AIG visiting card. And actually, I think it was just my love for stationery. I felt very, very important getting a whole stationery kit to myself. But something really, really brilliant happened there, which I'd love to share with everyone here today. Um, I went to study insurance, and we were taught there, the 2 3 months of course you have to do, and then you have to give an exam. And we were taught in insurance school that you have to keep going, and your success rate is 1 is to 10. So 10 people will say no to you, and then you will find one person who'll say yes. So they kind of, told us this so many times that I remember, over the years going through rejection, which is, which is free and which is everywhere. Uh, Going through rejection, I've always leaned into that learning somewhere, which is all about celebrating the no's, celebrating the rejections. And that has been priceless. And I actually thank my dad to put me on an insurance school, because they kind of made us to just say that, anybody who says no, that doesn't mean you won't try again. You will not, like, crib and, sit in the corner and be like, oh my God, now what do I do? Where do I start again? It's such a mammoth task. You just get up, try again. So I've kind of propelled and the reason I've been able to make independent movies is, I think because in my mind I celebrate the no's. I'm just like, just quickly say the no so I can, because my yes is coming. In fact, the best kind of yes is coming. The best person in job who will take this forward and is the most, aligned to the project, to us, is going to come. And maybe that's the 11th person, but that does mean you have to try 10 times. And it's usually worked for me.
And while we are, you talking about celebrating the no's, having worked with you very closely, I know that you also celebrate inclusion and diversity on a very large scale. And you don't do that for the sake of doing it, you do that every single day. And I see you do that. Talk about that a little bit, please.
I think in life, we are all products of our exposure, and we are all products of our choices, our exposure, our upbringing. And the only way to expand your life is by including more, and not seeing as somebody as the other, but seeing them as ours. So I just think it's really important to have all kinds of people with all kinds of exposure, gender, caste. It's just important for any company. I feel like, how do you even, in boardrooms, how do you feel like you have a say into certain thing while you've not even consulted people who've lived that? So as storytellers, it's super important for us, for me, to be able to um, have a team, have a team that is wider. And I actually feel like, specifically for women, being a woman leader myself, I actually feel like women make really good entrepreneurs. I was going to say better, but I really feel like we make really, really good entrepreneurs because I think we cross check and double check and triple check as a race. It's kind of inbuilt in us, and I don't know where it comes from. It just comes from being so grateful for an opportunity, or just like a inbuilt psychology that we will cross check 10 times before we are like, okay. And that's a great quality, for a employee or for a leader. So I just feel like women at large are very responsible, and maybe that's why a lot of them have been on the other side working. But I do feel like if they double down and take a chance on themselves, they make better leaders, they make better entrepreneurs, and that excites me a lot. Yeah.
And would you want to also add a bit about the Elephant Whisperers? Because a wide number of women were taking in charge, of several major departments in the film.
Of course, I feel. I mean, starting from our director, you know th- I feel like I live in a echo chamber where I'm working with so many women. I'm celebrating women, but there was a Me Too movement that happened few years ago, and then some stats came out, and the statistics after research said that less than 5% women are directors. And that kind of was a rude shock even to me. We don't really realize, living in our lives, doing our bit, that we need to do more, or we need to propel more, or we need to open more doors, or we need to celebrate more, talk more, lean into skill development more. Um, so, Elephant Whisperers is actually a beautiful, beautiful project. Of course, it won the Oscar, but it also is directed by a first time filmmaker who's a woman, Kartiki Gonzalez. And she's a natural history photographer before. And she's also India's only director who's won an Oscar, and happens to be a first time director woman. We're also living in the year of Barbie this year. So, um besides most of our HODs, in fact, even Belly within the film, the story of, I feel like, Amu and Belly came, the film started with Raghu and Boman and finding their connection. But as a documentary, we followed their journey for 3.5 years. I feel like it became complete when Belly and Amu came along, and in every which way, in every walk of life, we're the other half. We make half the planet. So it's important to know that, firstly, to internalize that we are relevant, we are important. And in fact, most of our HODs, like you said, even across publicity awards team, women celebrated their work, the film, and empowered us in many, many ways. And that is just beautiful when one empowers the other. So, been living that, and I hope to be a leader like that on everyday basis. Yeah.
And I'd want to add that for everybody who's watching across 180 countries, that because I work with Guneet, I know that we were recently writing a caption for her. We were trying to write something very sweet for her mother-in-law, and she said, "No, you can't call her my favorite because I don't want to put other women in the world down just because she's my favorite. Not at the cost of putting other women down," which was so beautiful. I don't see people internalizing that so often in daily life. So kudos to that, Guneet. And from there, we take you to a rather important question and a sensitive one, that you started very young and you've always told us you had a lot of struggle starting young, of people believing in you. This young woman, young girl, all of 22 can make something happen. You've been in boardrooms where you've said you felt unheard sometimes. So with a largely, we live in a man's world still. In a male dominated industry, films are largely dominated by men. Take us through how you navigated it, and where do you think we've reached in terms of trying to at least make things possible for women.
And it's a great question because there's a lot of subconscious reaction to any kind of discrimination, be it if you are a LGBTQI plus person, or if you are you're marginalized in caste, color, race, beauty standards, gender. I think we internalize it ourselves. Like each of us has our own struggles we are dealing with. So, firstly, it's important to recognize that. Firstly, uh, it's important to just be like, okay, this is what I hold myself, you know, uh, behind for, or this is how I feel when I enter a room. I feel unheard. I feel marginalized, and it's not something that happens so direct. It's not black and white. It's not like somebody just comes up to you and says, oh, you're a woman, I'm not going to talk to you. It doesn't happen like that. That avoidance happens through the subtext, and you also understand the subtext, and you also internalize the subtext, and then you live with that internalization for a long time till one day you go to therapy, and you're like, it's a common emotion, because otherwise we are feeling, oh my god, the whole world is against us. So I feel like there's a journey to being discriminated. you um, so I actually, when I produced my first film when I was 21 years old, and producers in India like me are extremely rare because I don't come from wealth. And in India, you have to be like a diamond merchant or a construction business, or like, or just a money giant. Very, very rich people are producers, which, I just fall in love with stories and then go find money perfect. So a lot of time I've just been, in rooms where people firstly don't understand what I do, and because they feel like they can hire somebody like me, or who can, run the execution of a movie, and I'm like, no. In fact, I'm going to hire you. So
I love
uh,
it.
yeah. Well, if I detour into an example, one absolute A-list actor was very, very confused. He fell in love with my story that I was producing, and he was very confused on what I will do, because they're so used to producing their movies themselves. And he actually said, I like the film, but what will you do? I said, it's actually my film. So we will work together. And I said, sir, like, you are an extremely valuable asset. So am I, and it's my film. And I'm going to work with you, you know, if you want to work with me. So, but early days, 21, when I was 21, I just feel like people didn't take me seriously. In We live in a culture where the young is not celebrated. and doing $4 million movies or $5 million movies. They're like, how will she handle it? She's so young, what will she do? So picking up that faith from studios was hard for me, and I internalized it in my own way. Like I didn't ask anybody, or and now it's 15 years ago story that I'm telling you today. I actually colored my hair white. I wore like a oversized kurta and a jacket to look 40 when I was 25. I'm 40 today, and finally, for a decade and a half, wanting to be 40 to be taken seriously. But I wished for specs. I actually wore 0 degree specs. Now I have them. I colored my hair white. Now I have all my hair are white. So I internalized it like that. So we all have our own reaction to discrimination. And I think understanding that, knowing that, maybe it's a beauty standard, maybe it's, I used to think that I don't talk in an intellectual fashion, so I used to keep quiet. I'd be like, in extremely creative rooms, you need to make so much sense. You need to add value to the character's journey. Otherwise, you're the one who's giving stupid ideas. So I actually internalized it, and I started, before every word I said, I was like, I'm sorry. I think this is a stupid suggestion, but can I just, make one? So you internalize it in your own way. Like I said, sorry more than I said, hi. So that I'm just going to dare to talk. Um, so you internalize it on your own way, and I think as you grow older, wiser, building a peer group is very important, and sharing experiences and platforms like I'm Remarkable. You're sharing experiences and you're feeling, oh, I felt that too. And we're not alone in our discrimination, because you feel like I am the stupid one. So I've actually gone from feeling I don't know my work after producing a film like Lunchbox, that is a poster behind you. I've gone from there feeling like I don't know anything, to feeling I'm India's best producer and internalizing it. Of course, I'm going to win the Oscar. That's a separate thing that we did. But I've internalized it way before. So it's a journey that one lives to get out of it, because at the end of the day, you know, you, and I think there's nobody who can take away the integrity of work, any kind of work that one does, and there's nobody who can take that your lived experience from you. And I think we spend and waste a lot of time seeking validation from so many voices, giving power to so many other people about us, around us, and it's time to take back that power, and I mean it in a very humble way. I mean it in a way of self faith. I mean it in a way of self confidence, self reliance. There is no shortcut to success. We are not overnight successes. The Oscar is not an overnight success. It's 16 years of every day showing up for your own self, and there is no shortcut for that. There's no overnight like success. It's years of relationships, years of putting in my journey, putting movies out there, and one thing just flies. But you show up, neither either ways you show up nevertheless. Not for anybody else, for yourself, and that is so 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 important. It's at the core of it. So yeah.
That's so beautiful. And, with that, let's enter the Oscars. Let's go back, let's go down memory lane and talk a little bit about that. Um, you were there on the stage, you won, the music cued. You were unfortunately not able to give your Oscar winning speech. However, the moment they stopped the music, you went ahead, you put your Oscar in the air, and you shouted, "This is for India." And you had stalwarts sitting down in the front row. Talk about that. How does it feel to not be able to do that? But at the same time, you did make your mark. You didn't need words to,
My heart broke. I was like, I have seen this on TV. Well, when music plays on top of you, trying to say and the mic is cut off. Like, I was so, it's surreal, the moment. You work. so hard. It's like your full life flashes in front of you, and seeing that theater from the other side, it's, tall, it's, and you have amazing people sitting there making eye contact with you. um, so many people I look up to. I've grown up seeing their work in cinema. um, yeah, and then I was actually rehearsing my speech. I was so busy rehearsing I was so nervous to literally, like, here I feel empowered and I can, talk normally. And but two lines, I was just, so anxiety induced, that I was like, winning, talking to God, thanking God and my parents, and learning my speech. Then I contacted, this is all I was doing till Kartiki was speaking. And then when I went up at the stage, the mic went off, and it broke my heart. I was like, in a split second, I was like, this is, and I took two steps back. I was going to exit, and I was like, this is live TV. They're not going to pull me out of the stage. I went back. And I was like, this is for my country. And this is the first Oscar for any Indian production. And of course, the front row, the main orchestra section, they just cheered and clapped for me. And actually, what happened after that was magical and crazy. So, of course, what we played at the start of I'm Remarkable is my backstage speech. And I was so nervous. My heart was beating so hard. And I was just, forgot to thank my brand new husband, and I forgot to just say so many things. And I just heard it again, and I was like, oh no, I forgot so many, and I fumbled in two lines. But it's okay, it's life, it's real people doing real things. um, but after that was the governor's ball, and the entire orchestra level actually found me at the ball dinner, where our names were getting written on the trophy. And they were like, we're so sorry your speech got cut off, but we heard you. And that was just like, oh, it's great, this is a conversation starter. So how things actually change in your favor always is magical. So I just think magic happened. Besides, I'm going to go back to finish my script, to finish my speech. That is happening too, in the near future. But even that night, I think claiming your power, faith over fear, every day, every moment, and it happened in a split second. But it is also years of self work, of just being like, who's going to say anything? I want to go do this. you know I don't need permission. So yeah, that, I think that was a split second moment.
Yeah. And then you came back with the Oscar. And amidst the parley of accolades and congratulatory messages from the Prime Minister to the President to everybody across the world, there came a moment where, for everybody watching, should know there's a company called Amul in India that produces, they put billboards outside, and they always do it thematically. They congratulate people. It's a very big deal to come up there, and they obviously put Kartiki Gonsalves and Guneet Monga Kapoor up there with their own little twist to it. And that moment, I remember Guneet sending us a message, "I've arrived." That was the first time she actually, and she's such a humble person, she would never take this all very seriously. But that day, she finally said, "I've arrived." Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, what do? You still continue to tell stories. You still fall in love with what you do. Another story, another day, and you continue work. But those little cartoons of our faces, little Amul cartoons, because they form our childhood. We've seen them in newspaper every week, and it's part of our living room conversation. And I was like, oh, they put a hoarding with our faces on it, and it's national pride. I think in US, being with many Oscar winners, you're one of them. But in India, so I actually experienced joy coming back to India, and it resonated with me. And now it's been a year. It's been magical, and it was definitely a highlight of the win of the Amul hoarding, and of our little cartoon faces. I would cherish that. Yeah.
And quite humbly so, Guneet. I've never seen you take this to your head ever. And you so very gracefully, still with a lot of humility, balance it out. Never have I ever seen any kind of arrogance in your, even in the tips you give people or the way you talk about it. How do you do that after achieving such significant success, after seeing so much hustle in life, coming from nothing, not having a godfather in the industry?
I think I think it comes down to upbringing, I feel, and it comes down to who we are at the core of it. Um, I I am fascinated. I'm fascinated by life. I am mesmerized by the magic of cinema. It's above me, and I still hope and pray that the that a beautiful story chooses me. I actually don't feel I work hard, but I don't feel like I did all of this. I still feel like the story chose me. Could have been any other producer. I mean, could have been, but it was me, and I. So I feel a bit spiritual about it, and I feel like so many amazing people gave me an opportunity. And when I'm in position of power, whatever that is, if I'm in a position of opening some doors, then why not? Somebody stood for me and opened it. Somebody shined the light on me, and it's now my turn, and you give back. And I feel like more the merrier. So I'm just fascinated. I see magic all around me. So I face a lot of rejection. I face a lot of difficult rooms. I face a lot of judgment still. I'm called international. That actually means kind of art house. You're always being trying to. I think people around you are always trying to understand you and put you in a box so they can define you. And I love jumping out of the box every time. So because I'm so fascinated, I'm so curious. My company is called Sikya Entertainment, which means keep learning, keep growing. It's a Punjabi name. So that curiosity leads me on. So you actually don't know where you will find your next idea. I mean, Elephant Whisperers, we won an Oscar for, was a cold submission in my email. So it fascinated me. It was excited. I could have also just missed that email. So I think you don't know where magic happens from. You have to show up for it. You have to respond to it, and you have to allow it to happen and work for it. So I don't know where one takes arrogance, and arrogance for what. I actually don't get it. Because at least in my industry and in my business, we're not doing the same thing every time. We're only going forward, and it's different stories we are telling. It's not like we're making some hardware which is the same thing all over again or every day, and you have a factory that you're running. I mean, I marry stories, and those stories consume 2 3 years of my life, and I need to be in love with them, and love is beautiful and pure, and there's no justification on why love happens. So and somebody else can hate my uh, love of my life, but I have to be in deeply, madly, truly love with it. So to show up for it every day, to work for it every day, to feel like who's the best person who will take this journey forward, so it consumes me. There is no time for any other thought. And I actually also feel it's incredible, the time that somebody gives in watching our films. It's a one-way conversation for 2 hours, for 2.5 hours, for 40 minutes, for 1 hour, and it has to be worth somebody's time. So I actually feel like I can't take somebody's time for granted, because I would hate to waste my time on something that I don't like. So just keeping that thought overwhelms me, and I'm just like, it better be good, it better be worth somebody's time. Uh, so it matters to me. All that thought goes in, and at least in our make believe world, we make that world feel equal. We make that world feel beautiful. We make life feel fair. And life has given me an opportunity to tell stories as for a living. So I better tell beautiful stories that, heal the world a little bit.
You do.
Yeah.
And what tips would you give to women out there, Guneet, who definitely suffer from imposter syndrome, but
Oh,
yet they
so do
need that, how do they self promote themselves? What should be the
I.
grammar of self promotion?
So firstly, so do I completely suffer from imposter. And I have to tell you, a few years ago when I produced Lunchbox, and because it's such a career high, I think somebody who really value how I value and look up to, and saw my validation come from, and said, oh, this is a fluke, you're a fluke. And I internalized it so deeply. I was like, yeah, this level of success is never going to happen again in life. It's never coming back, and this is it. I'm 29 and I've peaked, and this is my career high, and everything from here is just going to be down. Who'll work with me? Why will somebody work with me? And I'll never have this kind of success. And that is the world I lived in. My mind was consumed by that, and it it was depressing. It was dark, and I didn't see the light in the tunnel at that point of time. So I think just leaning into some sort of leaning inside, listening to yourself, and I think that is what 30s does to you, because that is still 20s. And you know, addressing grief, loss of my parents, addressing um, a lot of noise, and just I think few years of trying to understand what is my purpose in this life. What am I doing every day? Why am I doing what am I doing? Does it even matter? If I have something to say. And I think I came out of that with a lot of self work and therapy, um, which helped me grow as a person, which helped me open my horizons, and really make me believe that I'm remarkable. I'm here to tell stories, and my stories matter, and I matter. And that's something that I had to tell myself, and I had to believe in it myself. It doesn't matter on who says what. And slowly it stopped. The noise stopped, and slowly it took few years. It took 2 to 3 years. It was not overnight. It was not, it was a dark cloud. It was depression. It was just internalizing failure, internalizing something that somebody said. And because that somebody mattered to me so much, that somebody comes in a shape of a partner, your closest friend, your parents, your boss, somebody you put so much power into. So I think firstly, like I said, uh, and there's a little story that I'll tell you. So there's an exercise that my therapist did with me, which is like, okay, describe yourself. And you started this call this way, and I was like, oh, I'm a nice person. I am helpful. They're like, and that's it. I literally did not know what to say about myself, because it's like, what do you say? You're nice. You're living your life like a regular, person, and trying to be nice and show up and help anybody you can around you. So you're a nice person. That was my definition of myself. That's it. And she gave me an exercise which I love anybody hearing this to do is call your best friend, call your two best friends, or somebody who you love and somebody loves you and knows you closely, and ask them to describe who you are and what you know just who's Guneet. And I was like, okay. And I didn't think too much about it. I just told my best friend, and my one of my aunts, and I was like, can you just describe who I am? And it's an exercise I'm doing. Can you please help me with that? And I got my best friend sent me a voice note, and my aunt sent like a huge paragraph written, which was like, Guneet is the most creative, resourceful, soulful, alive, confident. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it was like, I think a 5-minute voice note of my praise. And I was just like, oh, like, it's too much. It's overwhelming when somebody's praising you so much. I didn't know where to look, what to do. It's because we're not used to taking praise. You're like, okay, what do I do? This is uncomfortable. It was bothering me. It's like, oh, it's too much. It's like, and so I played it back to her when I went to her for the next session. I played it back to her, and she's like, what do you feel about this? I was like, do you relate to it? It's like, yeah, some of it, but it's too much. They're like, that's what you need to step in. This is what you need to think about yourself. I was like, oh, this is because she's in love with me. So from going from a mindset of lack to going to a mindset of abundance is a journey that you live. Abundance of beauty that you see around, abundance of magic, abundance of your own thoughts about loving yourself, truly, madly, deeply loving yourself, and not always hoping uh, for validation. So it's a journey, and I lived that journey, and I came out of that journey not really seeking defining success for myself project wise. Like, if this film works, I'm successful. If this film doesn't work, oh my god, I'm not successful. Getting away from that circle to being like, I am successful because of everything I do. If I wake up every morning inspired to continue doing what I do, I'm successful. So I had to define success for myself, because you hear a certain bank balance is a success, a certain house, a certain car, a certain material wealth that you can gain or buy is success. But success is actually a mindset and nothing else. It's a switch in the brain where you just feel successful driving the smallest car, or living in rent. I feel very, very successful. And it's not a bad thing. So I have learned to celebrate myself. And if anybody hearing me today can just do that, it's magic. And it's beautiful to experience magic every day. And it's not like, life is full of roses and there's no rejection and you have, it puts you down. It's not about how you go down, it's about how soon you stand up and you're like, okay, I'm ready, done, dusted, let's go. Let's get the next yes because it's coming. And how do you have that constant faith over fear every day, every moment? It's going to work out, and it does.
It does. And Guneet, could you name a couple of women that you look up to? And having looked at them and having interacted with so many women in the world across fraternities, not just the film industry, what kind of legacy do you wish to leave with your work in the industry?
Hmm. Uh, Very good question about legacy. I think about it. I think post the Oscar, that mindset about legacy has come into my mind. Um, I actually love, 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 and look up to this amazing writer, director, producer, Eva DuVernay. Um, and I think single-handedly she has made way for so many women. She's made for some amazing black stories, and to be celebrated on main stage. So I really look up to her, and I've had the opportunity to talk to and interact with her a few times, and in her office while she was traveling here for the festival, for the Mumbai Film Festival. Um, and I've asked her these questions, how do I do this? It's so intimidating trying to, navigate a film in LA, while I've understood Bombay, and this is now comfort zone. 10, 15 years of working here and not knowing anything here. 15 years later, I was like, okay, now this is something that I know. But if you have to navigate a script there, a film there, in a different territory, different language, new people, so she just told me, break open the door and enter it. And I was like, how? She's like, you will. And when one woman enters, 10 more enter. And I was like, okay. Just the fact that she said that to me, I was like, okay, I'm going to break open the door and enter. So, you a switch just opens in your brain of empowering. And that's just like having the confidence to shoot an email and not overthinking the process. It's like, I need a meeting with you. I've come all the way. Do you think that's possible? And more often than none, people say yes. So, and in terms of legacy, I feel, um, if I can change that stats, a certain stat that I saw, that less than 5% women are directors, are storytellers, and that bothered me a lot. So, as a producer, as a filmmaker who's raising money, who's greenlighting stories in my own power, in whatever power that I have, if I can make an impact and change that stats, or uh, with my resources and connections, with the kind of amazing people who have been part of my life, um, if I can just, add to skill development for women, uh, it'll be the legacy that I'd like to leave behind. And for every movie that I've produced on how women are treated, seen, heard, um, because it's going to inspire generations, and these films are going to live on long after I go. So it matters.
It definitely matters. And that brings us to our last question. What makes you remarkable? And we need you to start by saying, I am remarkable because.
I am remarkable because what makes me remarkable? I'm remarkable because I see beauty on everyday basis. I turn every fear into faith, and I'm here to win. I'm here to celebrate. I'm here to celebrate all other women and cheer for each other. I'm remarkable because I'm beautiful, and it's taken me a journey to even say that about myself. Uh, I'm remarkable because of the stories I tell. I'm remarkable because of the love I have within me to give uh, freely and 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 to receive freely too. So yeah.
Indeed, everything about you is remarkable. The master manifester. We hope another Oscar's coming. It is coming. We
Many
know it.
more are coming.
Many more are coming.
Yeah.
And with that, we open up to the questions from anybody who's watching live and would want to ask Guneet a question. Okay, we'll show you guys a video first, which is very close to our heart. The day she came back with her Oscar to India, and this is what we did with her.
This is a beautiful book, Change Makers by Gayatri and Malika. I think they spoke to me over a couple of years and then published this in 2013. They witnessed and spoke to me many times from 2016 to 18, and I'm so glad this was published. I can't believe these were my last lines. Would they have listened to her if she were a man? Maybe. Is Bollywood still a boys' club? There are a lot of boys. I've grown to realize that it is a boys' club. And I'm not a man. I don't smoke. I have always envied people who go on smoking breaks. So many deals they close out there. This is me in 2018. But she also believes that some men within the film industry are champions of gender equality. Absolutely. Achinjan. The fact that the number of women in film industry is growing is partly because of supportive men. Has to be. Achinjan, team, Ronak, and I have amazing, amazing men who believe and who work with me as a woman leader. Would she become the first Indian producer to bring home the coveted golden statue? Guneet, the woman who believes in miracles, says it's on its way. Thank you, universe. There's somebody out there who listens, makes things happen. Yeah, thank you for showing this.
So lovely. So we have the first question from Jordan. What's your next big thing?
Oh, next big thing is breaking the box office globally. So I want to be able to tell brown stories to the whole world, and like Avatar or Black Panther, I want to do my Brown Panther, and just casually, easily make $3 billion on box office globally, and tell our stories, win many more awards. But breaking the box office is with brown stories is my next super goal.
Next question. Sanyukta is asking, what would be your advice to young upcoming directors and producers in the industry? And how does one market their first script to a producer like you?
Oh, you can submit it to us. We have a development team, and I think knowing the people who head development in companies is really important. There's a process. Like I said, Elephant Whispers was a cold submission, so we definitely are constantly on lookout. And marketing for a young director producer, I would just be like, build a tribe, build a peer group, surround yourself with people who believe you. um, Today we have incredible cameras. Just constantly keep investing in yourself, your ideas. Work at amazing production houses if you have to, learn from people. But build a peer group, build a supportive peer group and double down on each other is at the core of it.
Right. Jay Kumar is asking, if you had to restart your filmmaking career at age 25 without any financial or social support, what steps would you take?
I did not have any financial, social, any support, and I became a producer at 21. And then I produced my second film at 23, and then I went through a huge personal tragedy, and then I produced my next film at 24, and I was producing Gangs of Wasseypur at 26. Um, I think all that is limitations in your head. You're limiting your own self. It's about working with people who want to work with you, and there is nothing that I would change. I would still do the same. I crowdfunded when there were no crowdfunding websites. I crowdfunded on Facebook for Lunchbox. We raised money from France. I read up about the treaties between India and France, and India has treaties with so many people and so many countries, and that mixture of equity money and taxpayers' money, which governments fund. So a combination of equity and grants, and that's how we made Lunchbox. So the limitations, if you lean into the limitations, there are many, but if you lean into the opportunities, there are also incredible opportunities. There are film festivals, there are script doctors, we used to submit our scripts everywhere and hope to get selected somewhere and get mentored somewhere, apply for scholarships everywhere. I was in a Rotterdam lab early on, in the producing lab. I did the producers breakfast at Cannes Film Festival. So just putting yourself out there and being curious on how I can learn more is important. Learn about how globally financing of films work, and that's exactly what I did. And I was able to make one independent film after another. For Monsoon Shootout, we had some support from BFI. For Lunchbox and Masan, we had support from the French um, uh, uh, grants that are available. And if we built it as a co-production, the treaty was signed in 1985. I was the first one to use it in 2011. So for Peddlers Haramkhor, I was able to raise all the money on Facebook with my own circle. You know, there is always ways of doing things. It's about how badly you want to do it. And if you show up for yourself every morning to do it, you can. I did it at 21. And I actually produced my first film. I got some small money from my neighbor because he wanted to open some sort of photography studio, and I was like, "It's a really bad idea. You should give it to me, and I'll go to Bombay." And I'm born brought up in Delhi. I didn't even have a place to stay here, and I said I will go to Bombay and make a film. And I actually didn't know anybody in Bombay, and I shared a room with five. I shared a house with five other girls, um, started with where I could. I used to go to the food courts and ask people if anybody has a script. I had some small amount of money. We actually made a beautiful film that bombed. And because it was a children cricket film and India lost the World Cup, because the sentiment of cricket pan country became strange, and the theater owners were like, take away the film. So I ended up distributing my film myself. I went to schools, I booked single screens. Per show we were making money, and then I did 350 shows like that. So it took 9 months of my life. So it's about how desperately you want it and what are you ready to do with your ideas to keep moving forward. That is important.
Lovely. I hope that answers your question, Jay. Ina Harvey is asking, if you were to go back in time to 10-year-old you, is this where you expect to be? Did it work out or how was it different? Did you struggle with the dream gap?
Yeah, so when I was 10 years old, I think I always wanted to do something that changes the world and do something globally. I didn't know what. Uh, be CEO of a global company. That's all I could think about. I had signed up. I wanted to do business management, and I think I was always entrepreneurial. Even in my school, I always was, somebody who took on a lot of responsibility. I was always showing up for. I was not hiding away from anything that my schoolmates or the school needs to do. So, and our school also put us through a lot of extracurricular activities, to hosting, green drives, to many things, like very large scale productions and fate and trophies and competition and sports day, I used to lead everything. I just was like, I'll do it, raise my hand, be like, I'll do it, and then figure out a hole and write emails, call people, not even emails at time, fax people for sponsorships. So I think that was always my brain, and I really wanted to. In fact, I wrote my first white paper when I was in ninth, and we stood first from a UN program that was held in Hawaii. Our program stood first, which was more leaned into social reform in our country, in my area, in my school's area. So I think I was always entrepreneurial in my own way, in whatever way that was. I didn't know that I would be a filmmaker, but if I could just do something differently, I just, because I lost both my parents early on, I just wish I had more. I, I, I found a way of uh, having like a camcorder and shooting them. That's the only thing I wish. Like, this was not the age of video calls or cameras like these, so phones like these. So I miss that opportunity that I don't have videos to lean into. But outside of that, I think I had dreams to be able to build them a house. I had dreams of um, being able to empower them, with getting all their dreams fulfilled. And I was able to fulfill few significant ones. But yeah, I lost them very early. So I wish they were around to see this and celebrate it because it matters the most. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Quite beautifully so. Sanyukta Pai is asking, Guneet, do you have any advice for upcoming young filmmakers? I myself am working on the industry as assistant director. I look up to you as a person and your achievements.
Yeah, work on as many films as you can. It's a beautiful time when you are young and you are in the learning phase. Work with as many directors as you can. In fact, also working on smaller films that give you more responsibility is important, so you get to learn more in smaller organizations, but credible ones, that are making good films, have good taste, have good environment. Um, yeah, don't settle. Keep pushing. And I think self learning is important, like watch more, do more, attend film festivals, build more contacts. It's important. It really
Right to the
expands.
president.
Yeah, if you need to.
You should actually share that very quickly for those who don't know.
Yeah, in 2010, one of my short films called Kavi was nominated for an Oscar, and I really wanted to go, and I had no money. I literally had, I think, $100 in my account. Like at that point of time, I remember 5-6 thousand rupees, and I really wanted to go to America and attend the Oscars. And I was writing to all the rich people that I thought were textbook rich, Richard Branson, ZA, and Ratan Tata, and people like those. And I and I wrote to airlines, and I didn't get much response. So then I just wrote to the president of India, and my email said, "I'm the pride of India. I'd love you to help me." And to get there, and I actually got a response, and I was actually able to attend the Oscars and be able to be in that room, to even see the dream to be on the stage one day. So it started in 2010 for me. So it's about you know having faith and doing something that you think is wildly crazy, but why not?
Paola is asking, what advice would you provide to women who feel stuck and undervalued at their current organization or roles, aside from leaving the existing company?
Do more, take more responsibility. um, you know um, I actually don't know what is the structure of that, if you're allowed to do more. But if you're young, and if you are unable to do more, then you're wasting time. How do you learn more? So I would say do more. And there's and if you feel stuck, then the answer is to move on to more opportunities, or ask for more work, and ask for more responsibilities, show up for more responsibilities. I've done that a few times. I've been in film environments early on, which were when I was a freelancer and I worked on others' films in execution, and I felt like there was constant discrimination, and I used to not get more work. So I went to other HODs and I was like, I'm ready to help you. I'm free labor. I don't need money. I'll put in more hours. Teach me. I want to learn about art department. I want to learn about costume department. I want to learn about first AD direction and call sheets, and I want to be able to learn about breakdowns, and I'll do it, and it's very time consuming. I photocopied, I think, 1,000 books and put them into different inboxes in a computer, made segregation for an art department, and I understood how they're doing looks and colors. But that was me putting in extra hours outside office. So yeah, so either you do more, and I hope you get those opportunities and those leaders around you. But if you don't, then it's time to look for places where you feel celebrated, and where your work is valued. So only then one can grow.
Tanvi Bajpai is asking, what is the story that you've come across in any form that has made you rethink life or stayed with you for days?
Story of a person. I think I value, like, I feel like I'm a producer. I'm an enabler of many more dreams. So I meet people across all kind of sections who want to be storytellers and writers, directors, and for me, it's about empowering them. So uh, and it's very, like, why do you like a book, and why does that book stay with you, or why do you like a certain story and you're just like, I can't stop thinking about it because it resonates with you so personally. So then you show up and work for it that much. So I feel like I've met many, many amazing people who have been kind enough to share their life story, and I'm a very curious person. So um, yeah, I allow conversations around me to happen. I like long sit down 3 hour 4 hour conversations with new people, and you don't know when you will meet that person again, and just everything around is always so transactional otherwise. So I am somebody who just likes to invest more time into people, to know them more, and also share my story, and then those connections don't go for life. So those connections stay in good and bad days because you had one 3 4 hour good conversation, and somebody invested that time in knowing your life, your worldview, and so did I. So I feel people like those really stay with me, and their dreams, their aspirations, and if there is anything I can do to support that, to take that forward, would be such an honor. So yeah.
That's so great. And with that, I think we come to a close. And I have to say, Guneet, that I've seen you say the same story, the same hustle. You've talked about it in X many ways without losing your cool. You've been very beautifully articulate and vulnerable. Every time you tell the story, you're more articulate, you're more powerful, you're more humble. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving us that time. Always sharing those stories with so much pride, so much humility, and just opening up yourself to the world so that we all can learn from you.
Thank you. I hope it was value of, for time that everybody else came up and showed up for me to hear me. So thank you. And I think join and learn more. I am remarkable.org. So, and thank you everybody and the entire team at I'm Remarkable to having me here. And thank you, Shifali, for your time.
Thank you, and really thank you to the team of I Am Remarkable. And again, if you guys want to learn more about I Am Remarkable, do log on to iamremarkable.org. Thank you.
Thank you.